Oh, yeah. Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like them mixed!
Apart.
Speak for yourself, pal.
Keep them apart.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, yes. What is up, my friends? Oh, man, we have got a good one on our hands today. Welcome to the UFC London preview show here on MMA Fighting. We are so happy to have you. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I am Sean Al-Shatti. I'm joined by my guys, the Prince of Positivity, Alexander K. Lee. And of course, Mr. No Gray Area himself, the new host of BTL, maybe part-time.
Oh, that's right. Absolutely,
Jed Meshew.
I've taken over.
And we got the undefeated EKC Layden manning the boards as well. You already know. In the new digs as well. New house. Congratulations, sir. And fellas, we are back on the scene all over again. It was just 4 months ago. Tommy Aspinall and the UK fighters burned London's O2 Arena to the ground. One of the wildest, most entertaining events of the year. And now we're right back here, running things back. Tommy Aspinall, cohorts back once again. And a lot of familiar faces on this card really tomorrow. Like a lot of the kind of the same characters we just saw last time out. You got Aspinall, you got Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann, Paul Craig, Muhammad Mahayev. The list just goes on. But we got some new faces as well, right? We got Curtis Blaydes in the main event, Jack Hermanson, Chris Curtis, co-main. We got Gustafsson on this, Volkan Ozdemir. Lots to like here. So I'm going to start right there, Jed. It's rare that sequels are ever better than the originals, right? We were just here a couple months ago, one of the best events of the year. When you look at what we have in front of us on Saturday, do you like it more or do you like it less than March is offering? Like, is this a chance to be an Empire Strikes Back type of sequel, or are we looking at more of like a Rise of Skywalker type of thing here?
Which one was Rise of Skywalker? Was that the second of the?
It was the last. It was the worst movie ever made. It was the last one.
Oh, I really hated the first one of that trilogy too. So the second one was great, which oddly goes against the point you're making here. But I don't think this is going to be Empire Strikes Back. This is not The Godfather 2. But also it's hard to judge, right? Because like we know what UFC London 1 was because it's already happened. That's how time works. And it was awesome. Everything about it was great. All of the things that you would want to happen for an event location like that, like happened. And it was just a bunch of incredible performances outside of, if Paddy Pimblett had just won a decision, that's still the right outcome, but it's not that exciting. But the way Paddy Pimblett, the way Molly McCann, the way, the big man, Tommy Aspinall, the way that all went down. Yeah, that was iconic. That was everything you wanted it. It's really hard for me to imagine that this tops that, especially because I think there's like a non-zero chance that all of them lose this weekend. Oh. So like, I'm not predicting it, but like, there's definitely a world where that's a thing that could happen here. The fights are more competitive. Tommy Aspinall was fighting Alexander Volkov. We thought that was going to be a good test for him. It ended up being he passed with flying colors. Now he's fighting Curtis Blaydes. I would be stunned if Tommy Aspinall looked as good as he did against Alexander Volkov against Curtis Blaydes. Not that he can't win, just that I would be absolutely flabbergasted because nobody stunts all over Curtis Blaydes like that. So I think these fights might be better in some senses, but I don't think we're going to get the same highlight reel after highlight reel after highlight reel just because the law of numbers. It's tough to predict any card's going to have 2 decisions on it or whatever stupid number of few decisions they had in the first one. So I think it's still going to be a great night of fights though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, AK, you're known to rate a card here or there, just a little bit. I mean, when you look at what the UFC's put together for our Saturday morning here, which by the way, I am loving this run of morning events. This is fantastic. If we can get this going. I
can't believe how much better this is for you because it's still great for me, but like I just think when you say morning, I'm like, man, I would love to wake up to fights. That would just be divine. I did it today. One championship, baby.
Your boy, Rain of the
My
hitter.
boy, Hitty the Hitter is about to get ranked in 2 rankings for me this upcoming month. Shouts but that's not what we're here to talk about.
It is not at all. And I already see the stink face that AK is making. So let's go back to the point. I mean, AK, you rate a card here or there. You dabble a little bit.
Yes.
What are you giving this one?
I mean, look, listen. It could be up to like a 9.6, 9.7. I mean, that is how high we're gonna go. But I'm like Jed. I mean, it's gonna take a lot to hit that. It's gonna take a lot of like what we saw on the first trip to London, where it has to be the right winners that get the home crowd going. They have to win in a spectacular way. The wins could have ranking implications, at least as far as like Tom Aspinall goes. So yeah, very high potential. Do I think it'll reach that potential? I mean, I'm the Prince of Positivity. I'm the eternal optimist. So I want to say yes, but that was like, that was lightning in a bottle, right? I mean, good job by them, by the UFC matchmakers and for the fighters involved to have this all lined up and again, just kind of even create the chance of making all that magic happen again. But it's tough. I mean, these are tougher challenges than they were last. Like this is how you do a sequel though, right? The challenges are escalated. The danger is greater, but the rewards could also be greater if in the end the heroes, I would say the London-based and UK fighters on this card prevail. Then then it could surpass the original, but a lot has to go right for it to do that. It still, again, looks like an amazing card. I'm super excited about it. I have made a poll. Made a poll. Okay.
It's a fantastic poll. Maybe your best poll you've ever done.
This is how you know I haven't slept much in the last 12 hours because I was up, by the way, doing the live UFC, covering the live UFC London weigh-ins, and I don't regret it.
You're a real champion.
I don't regret it.
By the way, I will say for the people don't realize. I was like, AK, you don't need to wake up to do these weigh-ins. It's extremely early for you. And he actually actively threatened and then insulted me until I let him do it. It was ridiculous.
That sounds like the AK I know.
I may have said some unkind words about the Phoenix Suns.
It got a little personal.
Wow. Shaheen into letting me do it. The poll is, how excited are you for UFC London? Pip pip cheerio. Pepper in your tea, governor. Blimey. And bollocks. I don't actually know what these answers correspond to. I think I kind of put them in order of top would be best, but I don't really know. It's kind of random. So go with your heart, whichever answer, and I will read out the results at the end. So pip pip cheerio, leading early on. I assume that's a good thing. I think people are excited for the card.
I'm assuming whether that's like vaguely offensive or not to British
it definitely
people,
is. Oh, I apologize to all the London, UK viewers. I am so sorry.
Man, you're on one today, AK. Corey Sandhagen at the press conference.
That was bad. That guy looked like Corey Sandhagen.
This is what happens when AK's on no sleep.
It's an inside joke with me and AK, but I found it hilarious.
So generally, I mean, let's dive into it because we set the table a little bit here, but at the top of the card, it is a familiar man. It's the man who really brought all this back, right? It was Tommy Aspinall show.
He's certainly claiming to be the guy to do it.
When you have a song written about you, you can claim whatever you want. Frankly, I don't have a song written about me, so I got nothing. I mean, he is one of the most active heavyweights in the UFC now, one of the best damn prospects we have in this whole division. You look at it, post-fight opponents is galore, right? 4 of his last 5. He just subbed Volkov in less than a round last time out. And this is a big one, fellas, because, I mean, Curtis Blaydes, once you get through Curtis, there really isn't much farther that you can go in this heavyweight division without your sniffing the title. And Tom Aspinall has been very upfront throughout all of these past few years about wanting to take the slow road, wanting to take his time. He's mentioned even a couple different times that he felt like Curtis was always going to be sort of the toughest matchup for him in this division. And it's here now. So AK, I mean, do you like this matchmaking? And when you look at this fight, what do you see for both sides? What's sort of at stake in this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, what a smart move by Aspinall. I mean, look, it's a tough matchup. It's not, if I'm whatever his management or whoever, helps to guide his career, I probably would have said, don't fight this guy yet. But as you just said, Shaheen, he knows he has to probably going to have to fight this guy someday, especially if he wants to get a title shot. I mean, there's other routes, there's other guys he could have taken on. He could have waited out maybe some winners of some other upcoming fights that are happening. But the London card came up. He's got it. He wants to be in the headliner. He needs a headline-worthy opponent. Blaydes is the guy. Now, I think it's obviously a very difficult matchup for him, as Blaydes is for anyone, but certainly not unwinnable. If I'm not mistaken, I think Aspinall has been slightly favored, right? Yeah, he's been the slight favorite, I think, for a while. I don't know if it opened that way, but that has been the case. And I think that's a reasonable line. He's looked amazing. As much as we say, can he beat a guy like Blaydes? Man, no one saw him submitting Volkov. I mean, maybe beating him, certainly winning against Volkov, but submitting him, no one had done that in, I think, 12 years, 11 years before Aspinall had done it. Only 3 people have ever done it, and Volkov has fought like 40 times. So as far as proving people wrong goes, I mean, Aspinall is very good at it. And even if he loses, he lost to a top 5 guy. It'll set him back. It'll put a disappointing end to this card, kind of like we were saying, like, man, like, a lot of these things had to go right for it to match the excitement of the previous UFC London trip. But it might hurt in the short term. In the long term, it's one of those losses I feel like will benefit him, assuming he doesn't just get like rocked in like 30 seconds or something. But if he loses like a grinded out decision to Blaydes, there's no shame in that. Blaydes is really, really, really good. So it might not be, again, an ideal situation. It might be a tough loss for him to take at this point in his career, but it's not anything that ruins his chances of ever becoming a UFC title contender. And if he wins, he's suddenly there faster than I think any of us would have thought he was going to get to that point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, AK. And you actually hit on it a bit there. I mean, Jed, you're a bit of a gambling man. AK dabbles in ratings. You maybe dabble a little bit.
AK dabbles in the gambling too. We've got him.
No, hypothetical.
That's true. You have something down with you. I've seen
strictly hypothetical.
That's how it starts, though.
That's how it starts. But I will say, I mean, by the way, go check out this week's episode of No Bets Barred with Jed and our boy GC. If you haven't already, that's on the MMA Fighting Podcast Network. Great stuff. Maybe it'll make you some money. Maybe it'll lose you some money, but it'll be fun either way. That wasn't a ringing endorsement, by the way. I shouldn't have.
No, it's pretty true, though. It's probably a true endorsement. Because I did like bad things this week on the show, so I can't endorse my own picks this week. It's fun.
Now that's a tease. Go check out No Bets Barred. But AK, as I said, AK hit on it. I mean, Tom Aspinall and I have something in common this week, because when you look at the betting lines, he was surprised to learn that he's the favorite in this one. And frankly, so was I. I mean, Curtis Blaydes has done everything in this division. He has fought everybody. He has really only lost to 2 people, Ngannou and Derek Lewis, and he looked utterly ridiculous last time out, right? That Chris Daukaus fight, it feels like he is really hitting his stride. He's in his prime, and yet here he is. He is the underdog to Tom Aspinall. Even Tom was surprised by this. Jed, what do you make of this? Are you surprised?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's not what I would have expected, but it's not outside the realm of possibility, right? Because he's getting the hometown bump. Like they opened this fight as a pick'em, which feels like it shouldn't be, just because one of these men, like, we know exactly what he is. And as Tom Aspinall loves to say, and I am not sure is true, and is certainly annoying, even if it is true, we've only seen 10% of what he can do. If that's true, like, we have no idea what Tom Aspinall is as a fighter at this point. We all pretty much know what Curtis Blaydes is, and it's really damn good. And so based on that, you would think Curtis would just get the deference of having done it, of it not being predictive. But people are pretty hyped on him. This opened as a pick'em, and the line has moved steadily towards Aspinall. And I suspect it will keep moving that way just because it's in London, and I think that is, I'm not sure that Aspinall has a lot of advantages stylistically, but fighting in front of the London crowd, I think obviously is one of them. He is going to be showing out. If the first iteration is any indication of what this guy is going to do in front of a hometown crowd, that his best is going to be on Saturday. And we don't know. Curtis Blaydes has never really done this sort of fight before, going into super enemy territory like this. So we're going to find out. So it's not like wildly shocking to me, but I think Blaydes should be the favorite in this bout.
I agree with you there 100%, but I will say, I mean, it is tough when you mention the Tom Aspinall, you've only seen 10% of me thing, right? Because he might be true. Like, usually that's lip service with these guys, but like, dude hasn't really been out of the first round in any of these fights so far in the UFC. He has once, and then he finished it in the second. So it's just
He's never seen a third round in his entire career.
He might be right, like he might be right.
He could be,
but
it goes the other way too, though. Like, that's my other thing. It's like, all right, cool. I've never seen you fight past 7 minutes. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Because who can? Curtis damn Blaydes can fight after 7 minutes. That dude has no problem fighting for 25 hard. And we don't know that. And like, we're going to learn a lot, I think. And that's, to AK's point, totally reasonable to lose a fight to Curtis Blaydes. It absolutely is. The problem will just be that if he loses this fight to Curtis Blaydes, Tom can no longer say that we've only seen 10% of his game. Then he'll have to come up with a new standard line to just fire out there.
I will say, though, one thing that I enjoy about Tom is he seems to be, as much as the 10% line maybe is lip service, but he does seem to be very self-aware in terms of just a lot of this, right? The grand scheme of things, different opponents, their skill sets, his own skill set. He's been quick to point out this whole week, Curtis is more than just a wrestler. We saw it against Chris Daukaus. I mean, it seems to be there's flashes now of an evolution into this well-rounded mixed martial artist for Curtis Blaydes, and that these are real, right? And if you put together a rankings of the most well-rounded heavyweights in the world, though, Tommy Aspinall might be starting to creep up that list. He feels like he'd be pretty damn high up on that list. I mean, 5 fights in the UFC, 5 finishes, 2 subs, 3 knockouts. He can wrestle, he can box, tremendous patience, tremendous decision-making. Like, it feels like Tommy is the whole package, but we don't know yet. Jed, stylistically, when you break this one down, what do you see?
I think this favors Curtis largely because of what we know versus what we don't. Like, my biggest questions for this fight are not, can Tommy Aspinall stop takedowns? Because I'm sure he can do some defensive wrestling. Like, he appears to be very good at the old fist fighting game. My biggest questions are, what does he do when he meets an athletic equal? Because he hadn't met that yet. And for as good, I am not here to say that he did not technically stunt all over Alexander Volkov, because his slips on the feet were tremendous. Everything he was doing was well-founded, but a lot of it was simply he was moving in 1.5x speed to Volkov. And that is how, and you can't blame him for that, but I say all the time, athleticism is a cheat code in MMA, and especially at heavyweight. Andrei Arlovsky has managed to still be a competent heavyweight well into his 40s and almost a full decade after we all thought he was washed, almost entirely out of a little bit of savvy and still being a plus athlete for the division. Like, Tommy Aspinall has never fought a dude who can match him in that category, and Curtis Blaydes can. And so, like, I don't know, we're going to find a lot of it out, because maybe he does have 90% to show us and there's a huge depth to his toolbox. But I'm just going to assume that he's not secretly the best heavyweight in the world and can do an infinite number of things. And so he is going to quickly run out of options when he can't just be faster and stronger and better than people. And then it's like, all right, cool, you still have Curtis Blaydes on your hips dumping you. That sucks, doesn't it? Because I don't care how good you are at any aspect of fighting. Curtis Blaydes being on top of you, it's a bad time. There's not a person on the planet who wants to be taken down or is even comfortable being taken down by Curtis Blaydes. That just ain't the world.
That is a large, large man. He's very big.
You're not going to roll up an armbar on that dude. Like, that's just not a thing you're going to do. So stylistically, I think a lot of stuff can come into play, but at the end of the day, I think Curtis should be able to do what he wants more. And if he can start doing that at all, I have no idea that Tom Aspinall can fight for 25 minutes. And I super know Curtis can.
Well, last thing on this, and then we'll make some picks. I mean, AK, this heavyweight division is kind of all over the place right now, right? I mean, none of us can really predict how this saga with Francis Ngannou is going to play out. It seems like John Jones and Stipe are the 2 guys who don't fight, but that's sort of still lingering. And then Tai Tuivasa and Cyril Gane, that's going down in September in Paris. And you have to imagine there's some kind of title implications on the line for that too. So my question to you, I mean, is there any chance that the winner of this fights for some sort of title next, especially if it's Tom Aspinall, who doesn't sort of have that Francis Ngannou baggage hanging over them that maybe Curtis does? Any sort of title, whether it's interim or something, is that even on the line, do you think?
Yeah, very good chance. Very good chance. It just lines up so perfectly. And you got this great UFC London showcase potentially for Aspinall. You've got a great UFC Paris showcase coming up potentially for Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall would be a hell of an interim title fight. I also don't mind like Tai Tuivasa versus Curtis Blaydes, though I think it's I have
to say you said Gane versus Aspinall, and I kind of got shivers there. That feels like a fight we're going to see like 4 times in our life. Those feels
so young. Also, that feels a lot better than AK's next. Curtis.
Listen, everyone knows
you want to watch a dude get wrestled to death? Cool.
I have been very much on the Tai Tuivasa is a legitimate heavyweight championship contender. I'm on that, all right, and I'm sticking by it. I was very aggressive moving up the rankings, and I don't apologize for it. I mean, Gane, Aspinall would be ideal. One guy start coming out of London, one guy start coming out of Paris. Man, how amazing would that be? You could sell that anywhere. Again, you can sell that in one of their respective home countries, or you could take it back to obviously Las Vegas, big fight in Las Vegas, something like that, or another venue. It's pretty easy to sell. It's pretty easy to sell. Personality wise, I don't know. Mileage may vary there. They're both pretty kind of like soft spoken, thoughtful, mild mannered guys, which doesn't always do well at the box office, but I think there's enough of a highlight reel for both guys. I think there's enough intrigue as far as like how good are these guys really? Like how far off are they from Francis Ngannou that you could like really sell it as a potential title fight? So I love it. I think it's a very good chance. And again, for the Blaydes side of it, I really do think he's a guy who has been scraping at that title fight for so long. He just has had some really untimely setbacks. The 2 losses to Ngannou, the second one really bad too. The second one, I think, if I remember, I don't remember if he was a favorite. I was certainly picking Blaydes to win the Ngannou rematch. Ngannou really impressed me, but knocked him out in 45 seconds. So one of those, I still don't know how far ahead Ngannou is, but he is up 2-0 in the series, and that's all that matters. And then the Derek Lewis fight, I thought also should have been a win for Blaydes. And he looked good in the first round before, getting that Lewis clobbering. So I don't think he's like a tough sell to sell as a world title contender. Again, not as sexy a product as Tom Aspinall is right now, but you could sell me on Blaydes Gane, you can sell me on Blaydes Tuivasa. So there's an excellent chance that we are seeing an unofficial interim title bout eliminator here.
Well, let's do it. Let's make some picks for this main event here. AK, where are you going?
Yeah, I just think it's going the distance. It is possible again. We see Blaydes slip on that proverbial banana peel one more time and just gets tagged by a really good like Aspinall combination, or gets the worst of a scramble and Aspinall can kind of like snag a submission, surprise him with submission. Because if it goes to a decision, I just don't think Blaydes can lose there. He never has. He's never lost a decision. It was the first time for everything. Like we said, I didn't think Volkov would get submitted by Aspinall either. So if Aspinall went the distance and won a decision against Blaydes, that would be amazingly impressive, almost more impressive than a flash KO or flash sub. But since I don't expect that to happen, I do think Blaydes is going to. I do think the wrestling is such a big difference. Aspinall is a great grappler. It's just really tough when you're dealing with a guy with the intensity, with the motor of Blaydes, with a guy who knows how to use his size the way he does. So I think he wins a decision, and a pretty convincing one at that. Not like we just kind of hold him down. And there's going to be a lot of ground and pound. I think we're going to be hearing a lot about Tom Aspinall's heart in the 4th and 5th round. It's like, he's hanging in there. We're seeing a lot of heart. Meanwhile, there's kind of like blood coming down one of his side of his face, and
not what you want. Not what you want.
So convincing decision win for Aspinall. But again, as we kind of have said multiple times already in this part, like that's not anything bad about Tom Aspinall or his prospects. I just think Blaydes is ahead of him right now.
What do you think, Jed? You going with the underdog too?
Yeah, I'm taking Curtis Blaydes. Most of what AK said, really don't need to add too much to it. Just, I think Aspinall can have moments early because he's fairly quick-footed and he's a good boxer, which I think is his biggest advantage in this fight because Curtis Blaydes is a very rote boxer. But I just kind of don't think it's going to matter. I think Curtis is going to double jab him and get an entry, and we haven't seen a lot of people stop Curtis Blaydes takedown, so I don't know. I'm not going to believe until I see Tommy, stuff the head a bunch. I'm not going to believe he can do it. And as I mentioned a bunch, if I think Tom needs to win the first 2 rounds or put on a real showing in those, because this fight's going to get real bad for him as it goes on. And I think Curtis is just going to start building a big lead, either late TKO or just a dominant decision win.
I gotta say, I'm a little surprised. I don't know that I can remember a preview show where we were all unanimous on an underdog pick like this, but I'm gonna jump in with you guys. I mean, to me, since this fight was announced, since the line came out, and Aspinall was the favorite, I was a little just shocked, and it was one of those like, is everybody else seeing what I'm seeing? Because you're right. I think Curtis Blaydes is perennially underrated. If you've been in the UFC this long in this heavyweight division and you've only lost to Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, like, you're pretty damn good, man. And Curtis Blaydes is just that guy that he can't maybe get to the title shot, and the UFC is never really going to do him any favors, but he is a tough out, and he feels like he is evolving every time we see him. I was really impressed by the Chris Daukaus win as well. And it just feels like this is a step too much too soon a little bit for Tom Aspinall. Because like you said, Jed, we just don't know. Haven't had a lot of these questions answered yet. He might be the best damn heavyweight in the whole world. Like that very well could be true. We might be talking about this tomorrow.
He's not Francis Ngannou.
We don't know. He might be. We don't know. But I think this fight will go a long way towards sort of informing us along the way on that type of thing. I think it's great matchmaking. And but when Tom Aspinall, just even like a year ago, says, I see Curtis Blaydes as the hardest matchup for me in this division, that speaks volumes to me. So I will go with Curtis Blaydes as well. But this is a great fight. And I am really, really excited because I think we're going to get a lot of answers when it comes to Tom Aspinall, but also kind of Curtis Blaydes too, and his ceiling in this division and whether he can actually sort of put it together with this new crop of heavyweights coming up. Fellas, though, let's keep moving. And let's actually jump around a bit on this card because I want to hit the fight that has easily drawn the most interest this week from fans in a very bizarre way. You look at the numbers, though, you look at the engagement, you look at what people are talking about, and you look at all of it, and it's obvious Paddy Pimblett and Jordan Leavitt is what eyeballs are on, right?
Yeah.
I have been in this game for a bit, guys, for quite a while. And if I'm being honest, I don't know that I can ever remember a lead up quite like this. Lots of threats of twerking, lots of threats of teabagging. We even had Paddy go in depth with an explanation of teabagging for the uninitiated. There's just a lot going on.
Very gentlemanly of him. Very gentlemanly of him.
He's just helping the people out. There's a lot going on here. And Jed, I guess, what do you make of all of this, whatever this fight has become?
I guess first, just because I haven't seen anybody say it, and I feel like it does bear being said. Paddy Pimblett is the guy who made this happen. Like, for as much as Tom Aspinall wants to take credit, and he was the main event, and he's the highest ranked fighter, this is the Paddy Pimblett show. It was the same last time. Like, Arnold Allen was above him, and people love Meatball Molly, but it is Paddy Pimblett is the one who puts asses in seats, and the people are here the most for. And if Tom Aspinall couldn't fight, this event would have happened for sure, because as long as Paddy Pimblett's here, he is the straw that stirs the drink. And he stirs the drink because it's interesting. Like, look, I'm not here to debate the merits of all the things that have been said or whether you should go into a descriptive detail on the physics of teabagging. What I'm here to say is that that's far more interesting than Tom Aspinall repeating over and over that you've only seen 10% of his game, or whatever the hell Charles Oliveira was doing at the pre-weigh-in press conference today. Those are not interesting people, and Paddy Pimblett is absolutely interesting, and that's why eyes are tuned in. I also think it's hilarious because there's a really good chance he loses this fight, which is going to be, I said it basically since this fight was announced. He could win, don't get me wrong. He maybe should even be the favorite, but this feels to me like the best laid plans of MMA promoters go awry in the worst possible moments. Think Kimbo Slice getting knocked out by pink-haired Seth Petrozelli on CBS. This feels like we've been trying to build Paddy. We know Paddy's not good, so it's a bit smoke and mirrorsy, but people love him. And then for some reason, Jordan Leavitt comes in, a guy who is unabashedly weird and is threatening to twerk on him and will absolutely pop a split and twerk all over the desiccated corpse of Paddy Pimblett if he bolts him in there. It is that everything is lining up for this to be like the worst possible loss for Paddy, which is why I think there's a real good chance it happens, because that's just how the sport works sometimes. So this is the fight that I'm the least interested from a nuts and bolts standpoint, but by far the most interested from a narrative standpoint.
I've got to say, Jordan Leavitt has been such a revelation for this whole lead up. Like, that dude is the best kind of weird in my eyes.
Yeah.
Just like MMA, the fight game in general loves oddities. They love oddballs. And like, this dude he's reading 100 books a year. Like, he's obviously very intelligent. He's very learned in general. Like, the way he articulates himself, you could tell like he's just someone who knows what's going on. But yet he's out here doing all of these antics, and just it's the best possible way that you could put a foil for Paddy in a situation like this, where it's this big London show, this big showcase. AK, are you entertained? Does this teabagging versus twerking war, does this have you interested?
The man showed his ass. He showed his ass this morning. If anyone didn't see that, there's a clip on MMA Fighting.
Not metaphorically.
No,
not
like,
metaphorically.
actually.
He almost showed his entire ass. Thank goodness Shaheen was around with me, and I messaged him. I'm like, "Can we show this? Like, do we need some sort of warning at the beginning?" Because like he pulled it down halfway, gave a little smack, himself a little smack on his rear end. One for the haters, one for all those the fat shamers out there. Everyone kind of poking fun at his his pictures and videos from in between
Which,
his
by the
fights.
way,
Where
people are fat shaming you for a reason, Patty. Like, you should not get that big if you're a 155
he
pounder,
just
but that's
puts on
neither
the
here nor
weight.
there.
Well,
Live your
if you-
life, Patty.
Yeah, if you can lose it, put it on.
Don't worry at all about losing the weight. Worry about being a better fighter, because that's the thing that's going to screw you in the end, not tougher weight cuts.
Oh,
your
Christian
life,
Bale.
buddy.
Christian Bale like starves himself or puts
What?
on like 100 pounds
we
in between rolls, and he's a hero. Christian Bale's a hero, but Paddy Pimblett can't do that. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Listen, he's a young guy. It's the sort of thing that maybe it'll come back to bite him someday, but he's never missed weight at lightweight. He had problems with bantamweight back in the day, obviously. I mean, he just got older. I think featherweight, I don't remember if he missed, but definitely there was a struggle there with featherweight. So he has missed weight in the past, but not since moving up to 155. So 155 just might be kind of the perfect weight class where he can play around with it. But anyway, that's secondary to the antics, as we talked about. I have been saying for a while, like, his star power has become so disproportionate to his fighting ability that I think people are overlooking his fighting ability. I actually think I still think like it wouldn't shock me if he became like a top 20, top 25 lightweight. He's not there yet. I mean, he's certainly I wouldn't rank him there in my rankings, but I've seen less. I don't know, less talented, less sort of intriguing prospects than Paddy make it, reasonably well in the lightweight division. Again, it is the toughest division. It is super deep. But Paddy's good, and they've been doing a good job with the matchmaking. Now, the Leavitt thing, I think it's perfect. Because I think, it would definitely suck if he lost this guy in London after talking was doing and after how Leavitt has handled the trash talk. Like I said, Leavitt's kind of played this perfectly. It would suck. But also, again, if you lose Jordan Leavitt is another guy I'm high on. Like, Jordan Leavitt, I think, could be a top 20, top 25 lightweight. And who knows, or even higher. So there's no shame in it. But from a casual point of view, I completely understand why there's a lot of people there who have heard of Paddy Pimblett, have not heard of Jordan Leavitt, assume this is going to be Paddy rolling over. It looks like that's where the money has gone. I believe it's 2-1, at least 2-1 favorite in Paddy's favor.
More than that.
More now?
Yeah, it's up to 3-1 now almost.
3-1. That's a little crazy. Again, I'm a Paddy Pimblett fan, and I don't think he should be favored 3-1 against like anybody at this point in his career. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And he's done good work in Cage Warriors. He's done good work in his first 2 UFC fights, but 3-1. I guess Leavitt, because he wasn't like dominant in his like most recent win, that probably skewed the line as well. But the guy that Leavitt fought was tough as well. Trey Ogden's a tough out. So it's I understand why the odds are the way they are. I understand why Leavitt's being viewed the way he is. Paddy has a lot more to lose here than Tom Aspinall. That's probably the best way to put it. We said like Tom Aspinall, if he loses Curtis Blaydes, there's no shame in it. It's not going to hurt his reputation that much. Pimblett, there's no shame in it, but it will hurt his reputation for sure. That loss to Leavitt, his drawing power is still going to be high. The cult of personality has still going to be big. But boy, being undefeated, I think is really in the UFC. Excuse me, being undefeated in the UFC is such a big thing for him right now. And a 3-0 start would be really good. 2-1, not quite as appealing. So it could be the difference between whether we see Paddy remain a local attraction, just wait for the next London card or a UK card, or if he wins, they decide to bring the Paddy Pimblett show over to the United States.
Jed, man. I mean, this is another one. Nearly 3-1, like AK said. Paddy Pimblett, nearly a 3-1 favorite over Jordan Leavitt. I think a lot of people still have doubts about Paddy's ceiling here. I mean, both of you guys have mentioned, I think a lot of people just generally feel that way. But Jordan Leavitt is like a perfectly fine UFC fighter. Like, dude's only lost once in his career. Very good grappler. Had a couple really decent performances in the UFC. 3-1 odds, man. Does that feel like an opportunity to you, or does that feel right?
Oh no, I'm on it. I've gone ahead and bet Jordan Leavitt because he shouldn't be a 3-1 favorite over a competent UFC fighter. Look, I'm with AK to the extent that I don't know what Paddy can be because he's still relatively young and fighters change all the time. If we had come in at, I don't know, Rafael dos Anjos' career when he's 26, we would not have had any idea where he actually ended up going. Like, that's just how development happens in different rates at different times. And Paddy is relatively athletic and certainly has a foundation on which he could build. but he has a lot of problems and he's not very good right now. And his stardom obviously outstrips his ability. And that has juiced this line to a place where it shouldn't be. He may well go in here and beat Jordan Leavitt. Jordan Leavitt is not an unbeatable person. And Paddy is probably at least even on the grappling and probably at least even on the feet. So it just sort of becomes a tactics and trials thing. And we'll see how it goes. But he shouldn't be this big a favorite because dude got jawed by Kazula Vargas or whatever. Like, he's not. Luigi Vendramini almost got him out of there. Like, he should never be this big a favorite. And we'll get to it, I'm sure. Neither should Molly McCann. That's just sort of what's happening at this fight card. So, it is what it is. But we'll find out, because if he beats, this will be the best win of Paddy's career if he comes in here and beats Jordan Leavitt, I think. And if he does it really impressively, then maybe I'll start reevaluating, or maybe he'll show some growth. But at some point, he is going to lose if he doesn't make big strides that we've yet to see.
Well, we're gonna make picks here in a second, but Jed, just play this out for me really quickly. Just in this world, this fantasy world of ours, there's a decent chance Jordan Leavitt actually does this. What is the scene like in London's O2 Arena? What is it going to look like if he chokes out Paddy and then just does some really scandalous-ish, like all over his unconscious body?
I'll be dying laughing back home in America. And I think the O2 will not be all that stoked about it. I gotta be honest.
Just a little bit.
Especially because, like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like, there's a world where Molly McCann loses like a really nip tuck decision that's not that interesting. And then Paddy goes out here and Molly's like sitting on the cage and sad because he's unconscious. It's probably just going to be there's going to be a lot of boos for sure. I don't think there's any way around that. And just to tie this back into the main event, because we didn't mention it all, for as much pressure as there is on the visiting fighter to a hometown arena, if things are going poorly, if like a lot of the Brits have lost, and then Tommy Aspinall is there, maybe that's a little pressure on him to deliver kind of the saving grace moment against a dude who is just going to tackle the shit out of him. So this could be a snowball rolling downhill in a really bad way for the British fans, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of beer being maybe thrown through the air, a lot of fights in the crowd.
Don't throw beer.
I don't know.
Don't throw beer through the air, because you're never getting it to the cage and you're just beering some poor schmuck in front of you. And that's awful. Nobody wants to have a beer tossed in their head from not that they didn't see coming. So don't throw beer. Just be sad. It's okay.
They're not going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to you, Jed.
I know, but I'm just saying. It's a better way to handle that.
Oh boy, AK, is that the world we live in? I mean, make the pick. Where are you seeing this going?
I haven't done my official predictions yet. This is definitely one of the toughest ones to pick because I think it could go the distance. I think it could be controversial. If my main man, Mike Heck, was here, that's what he would tell you. I believe it was on an episode of Heck of a Morning earlier this week where he was asked to predict the fight. And he said he thinks that Paddy Pimblett might eke out a hometown decision. I don't know if I'm as confident of that. I want to believe that whatever the decision is, it'll be a convincing one, not one that we're kind of debating over. Well, who am I saying? We love debating this stuff, but you know what I mean. For the sake of clarity, I hope we're not debating it for too long. It's a really good match on paper. I think both guys are really good grapplers. Paddy may be a bit of a power advantage on the feet, but Jordan Leavitt really knows how to use I think he knows how to use his range well. I'm gonna go.
This is tough for you. This is tough for you.
Well, it's tough because I mean, as long as like I said, I haven't done my predictions yet. So as long as I reserve the right to change it, which is weird because I always embed this show into the. No, that's making it worse. That's making it harder.
You need to phone a friend.
Can I call you?
Sure. Or you can just ask the audience. Then you get to make a poll.
I should
love polls.
I'll do a poll. Okay, after this, I'll do a poll. Listen, I'm supposed to be the prince of positivity, but I'm kind of leaning towards the crowd being sent home a little bit unhappy after this one, and kind of casting a pall over the remaining two fights. So, yeah, I think Leavitt by decision, and a convincing one. might complain because Pimblett might have his moments. He might land some hard shots in the feet, might have some moments where he kind of wins a scramble and gets a position, but can't really do anything with it because, again, Leavitt's ground game is so tricky. But they might be like, it's one such, Paddy had it on top of him for like 90 seconds. He should have won that round. It'd be like one of those situations. So I think in the end, Leavitt gets the better of the exchange on the ground, doesn't take any major damage on the feet outside of maybe a few hard shots, and wins the decision and gets it to work.
Oh, man. Look at this. In AK's world, the so-called Prince of Positivity, the London crowd is just having a terrible, terrible night. Curtis Blaydes and Jordan Leavitt coming in there. What about you, Jed? What do you think?
I'm taking Jordan Leavitt to win by submission.
Look at this.
I by no means think that's necessarily the most likely outcome, but I think they're going to scrap a little bit on the feet, and then Paddy is going to believe he is the superior grappler, and he might be traditionally better, but what AK said, he said called Jordan Leavitt's ground game tricky, and I think that's really it. He's a bit of an oddball, a little tricky on the floor, and unless you're used to rolling with guys who have sort of awkward games like that, you can find yourself really caught into something just out of nowhere. And even as confident as Paddy is and as good a grappler as he is, I think he is going to get caught up in something that he is not quite expecting on the floor. And Jordan Leavitt, I've thought it basically since the fight was announced. It's like, that seems like a really bad, tough matchup for Paddy. And so I'm going to stick with my guns there and say Jordan Leavitt gets the tap.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'll give the London crowd a bone. This to me feels like a 50-50 fight. And I do think, there is something to be said of Jordan Leavitt has only fought in the UFC in the Apex. And this is about as far from the apex as he's going to get. And I think, when it comes down to,
do you think he's going to really care about that?
I think once you walk out to that sort of environment, Paddy thrives in that environment. He's been in that environment a lot of different times, both in Cage Warriors and the UFC. There's something to be said of just being in that moment before and knowing what that's going to be like. Whereas Jordan, that's going to be something brand new to him. I think in a 50-50 fight, that is enough to sway me to pick Paddy. Also, you do have a little bit of hometown cooking, maybe, where anytime Paddy lands anything of significance, the crowd's going to go nuts. And anytime Jordan lands anything, the crowd's going to no-sell it. And that plays into the judge's ears, that plays into the judge's eyes, even just, it's not purposely, but it's just being a human being in that environment. You sort of sway one way or the other to that sort of a thing. So I think there's just factors that play in Paddy's favor. And in a 50-50 fight, that's enough for me to give it to him. I think he probably wins the decision. But this is going to be interesting, fellas. This has the potential for real chaos, and I am here for chaos. Quickly, let's look at the rest of this card. There's lots to like. We mentioned it. Hermanson Curtis is the co-main. That is very fun. Krylov, Alexander Gustafsson's on this. Molly McCann's on this. Paul Craig, Volkan Ozdemir, AK's favorite, Volkan Ozdemir. He's keeping Volkan alive in our light heavyweight rankings on MMA fighting. Yeah, Muhammad Makhachev.
My love for Volkan is keeping Curtis out of our rankings.
Different divisions.
Yeah, that's not the same division.
Oh. I have nothing to say about that.
All right. We'll just move on. I think a lot of people have Muhammad Makhachev as a future title challenger, if not a future champion.
Best prospect in the whole sport. Full stop.
So I'll just go right there. Jed, what else is piquing your interest?
Dude, the rest of this card rules. I know we're not going to talk about the co-main event because nobody actually cares about it, but I think Chris Curtis is about to stunt all over. Nobody's talking about this fight at all because it's not Paddy Pimblett. It's not Molly McCann. It's not Muhammad Makhachev. It's not
it's hard to outshine some of those fights, but I think Chris Curtis is very quickly becoming a fan favorite and just like a real baby face, to use a pro wrestling term when it comes to this.
Action Man rules. He's going to stunt all over Jack Hermanson. That fight's going to be great. I can't believe that fight's still a pick'em. Absolutely shocks me. But I have two answers of the things that I care about the most. First is the main card opener. It's Paul Craig versus Volkan Ozdemir because I think that's the funniest fight by far. Because
the funniest
by far. I don't even think it's close because Paul Craig really excels at getting hit in the face and then pulling a miracle win out of nowhere. And Volkan Ozdemir also excels at losing at turning wins into losses. So that style matchup is just comically amusing because I could see anything happening here. Like on paper, Volkan Ozdemir should be able to stuff takedowns and just punch Paul Craig in the face. But did you see the face-offs? That man is the most intense human being in the sport. Paul Craig
that was scary. The shirt rip too.
Aggro and a half.
He nailed
And
the shirt rip. It was like one.
yeah,
It's gone.
That's a dangerous move too, because if you mess it up and it starts
then you
taking
look like a
forever,
huge
the
asshole.
shirt.
Yeah, it is.
No, he just shredded it. He just.
I don't believe in Paul Craig as a fighter, but I want to believe in him more than anyone probably in the sport. And I hope that this train that he is on of just submitting people, like Krylov was beating him pillar to post and then just fell into a submission. It's just like, I don't know what kind of voodoo he has that can do it, but he could absolutely do that to Volkan Ozdemir. Or conversely, Volkan Ozdemir is just going to slap him. Going to absolutely pine box this dude. So that fight is going to be fun. And then the other one, like if I'm just going pound for pound fun, that's the only fight I'm tuning into. But if the other fight I care the most about is Muhammad Mokaev versus Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson's a good fighter, but like I said, I think Muhammad Mokaev is the best prospect in the sport, full stop. Dude's 21, maybe he's 22 now. I will not predict that he breaks the Jose Aldo's record for youngest champion in history, but he has a chance. I think with him at this point, when you hear what everybody who trains with him talks about, you hear Tom Aspinall talk about it. When you see what he's done, when you know how much experience he already has at this age because of his amateur background, his athleticism, his skill set, everything he does, I think it is not a question of if he becomes a champion. It is a question of if he is a multiple division champion. And he may not go right to the title. He may take some setbacks. He may have a Charles Oliveira-esque run where he loses a little bit, has to find his way, but gets there. But I think this dude is going to hold gold and has a real shot to hold gold in multiple weight classes.
What about
so
you,
that's the dude.
I mean, I want to show some love to the co-main first of all, but I'm kind of with Jed. I do think this is not an easy win, but I do think this is Chris Curtis's ascension here. I think he will break into my top 10 finally, break into top 10. I'm so excited to see Chris Curtis officially be ranked in the only rankings that matter, the MMA fighting global rankings. So I'm pumped about
of which
that.
you are literally single-handedly holding him back from being in, but that's neither.
I am unbiased. Okay, that's how you know I am unbiased. I'm a huge fan of Chris Curtis. I like the man personally. When I celebrated when he was signed to the UFC, and then I'm celebrating his success with every win. But I am honest. I do not think he's done enough to enter the top 10. But now he's facing a guy who's in our top 10. That's all it takes. That's it. So the math will sort itself out. I always tell people that. So anyway, I'm looking.
Chris Curtis, who is on this incredible win streak, has not done enough. But Darren Till, who has won one fight and out of 3 at middleweight, and that was a very contentious decision.
And who did he beat?
Someone else who has not won a fight in a very long time.
Doesn't matter. They're both. Who have they lost to knock them out?
I'm just saying those are the people who have done enough to get it in your middleweight rankings. And Chris Curtis,
Sean, if you listen to Michael Bisping, Darren Till's still going to be a champion. He said that today in the press conference.
Listen, Al-Shatti,
he still believes Darren Till's going to be.
We're on a short cycle. We're on a short cycle. There'll be a new ranking. Right, there'll be a new rankings episode in like 2 weeks, I think. So
fairly shortly, yeah. After the pay-per-view.
This will sort itself out soon. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, co-main event. Jed is right though. There's just feels like there's very little buzz about it. I mean, there's a European fighter on it, and he's probably going to have just some people in the house just based on like geography. But it doesn't.
The comments are coming.
I don't know. I don't know that people care about Jack Hermanson either. Like, has anybody ever been like, hell yeah, Jack Hermanson? Let's go.
I mean, just that's the thing. It's 2 of the nicest guys in all of MMA. 2 of the most nicest, most inoffensive guys in all of MMA. Getting a co-main event based on merit, which is, again, in the eyes of the fans, really doesn't mean a lot. Especially on a card like this that has so many other storylines. So, yeah, that's great. I'm really excited to see how Nathaniel Wood looks at featherweight. I thought he was like such a, I'm hesitant to use the word prospect because that's his nickname. But, yes, he was a massive prospect at bantamweight. I think going up to 145, like a permanent move, can only help him. He'll be giving up size in some matchups, but overall a really talented guy. And Charles Rosa, the perfect guy to throw him in there with for his first sort of official move up to 245 pounds. So I'm excited about that. Otherwise, even the bottom of the card, I'll show them some love too. Victoria Leonardo, Mandy Baum, and Claudio Silva, Nicholas Dalby. These could be 2 really fun fights to start off the card. Victoria Leonardo, just win or lose, has a habit of either getting into really exciting 15-minute fights or ending up on someone's highlight reel. So maybe it'll go the other way this time for Victoria Leonardo. Maybe she finally gets the highlight reel knockout or submission or something. Either way, I think people have fun watching that fight. So yeah, great card top to bottom. So I'll just, for anyone who missed it, I did say at the beginning, I think like if everything goes well, we're talking like a 9.6, 9.7, a card that could rival their first trip to UFC London. As far as being the best fight nights of the year, best fight nights we've ever seen, but a lot has to go right, and there could be a lot of heartbreak.
I mean, I'll agree. I'll show Chris Curtis this co-main event love. This Chris Curtis Jack Hermanson fight, because to me, Chris Curtis is one of the coolest stories running in MMA right now. Just period. Like no one saw this coming. I don't even think Chris Curtis saw this coming. He wasn't even a middleweight. Like this is just really out of nowhere.
He was retired multiple times. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a professional fighter like multiple times over the last like 5 years. He was done.
It's tough to be a middleweight if you're not even a professional fighter. So.
It's wild, man. He is the perfect representation of how quickly things can change in the fight game and how just like year on year, the turnover is just ridiculous. But Jed, everything you said about Muhammad Mokaev, echo it 10,000%. This to me feels like a guy who, if not is going to be a future champion soon, as is going to retire with a belt on around his waist at some point in his career. Like the flyweight division is wide open right now. I know we have a really fun thing going with Divas Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, Kai Kara France, but it feels like Muhammad Mokaev is going to get into that position and probably sooner rather than later. Casey, let's get you in here too. What do you think? I mean, this is such a deep card. There's so much to choose from. What else do you have your eye on?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Casey.
Hi. Cards. Oh, like what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I mean, Pimblett. It's just a Paddy. So we talked half the show has been about Paddy and Jordan Leavitt, and like I don't really care about Paddy, but it's just all right. Everyone's talking about it. It's kind of like watching a crappy movie that everyone's talking about. It's like, well, I guess I better watch it because I want to be in the conversation. That's what I feel like with this whole Paddy Pimblett thing. So, I'm still Ludovic Klein and Mason Jones. Actually, I'm still high. Mason Jones. I still think of that. What's that crazy fight he was in? He lost Mike Davis.
Mike Davis.
And, yeah,
Mike Davis. Yeah.
I still love
The
that
only
fight.
loss.
Yeah, I still love that fight so much. And Ludovic Klein, I feel like I'm still living off his highlight reel head KOs before he got into the UFC. So I'm hoping we get that sort of violence. But no, I'm excited about a daytime card, and then Nikita, Al Capone, Krylov is fighting. So yeah,
It's the minor.
The minor.
The minor.
He doesn't like Al Capone.
He doesn't like the Al Capone anymore.
I know.
He's not listening.
You can't do that though. He intentionally sent Sherdog a Fight Finder picture of him and an Al
He
Capone
dressed
get
in
up.
it.
You can't just be like, I don't like that anymore. Like that's not how that works. You got to own that forever, buddy.
Yeah, he's Al Capone.
Casey, I will say good call on the Mason Jones pick, because I mean that's a guy who came into the UFC. He was a 2-division champion in Cage Warriors. He was undefeated and then kind of like lost in the shuffle after a really tough year last year. So this is kind of his way, his route back to getting maybe back some of that hype that he came into the promotion with.
Yeah. Is he coming in on a loss or a win?
I think he
No,
won
off-
his
off
last
a dub.
fight, didn't
He
Split decision with
he
Devontae
won. David Onama.
Yeah.
Oh, Klein.
No,
sorry.
Devontae
Oh,
Smith.
Klein, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
And that was a real like you need to win this to keep your job type of fight too.
So he's to the question.
But let's hear from the peeps. I've been seeing all these questions fly by this entire time, so it looks like we got a bunch.
Yeah.
Let's try to hit as many as we can the next.
I feel like we
15
need to
rapid
talk
fire.
about him and just real quick. Oops. You didn't notice that real quick.
This one coming from Jonk, who says, "Too bad Darren Till pulled out from this card."
I
Yeah.
agree.
I'm just trying to imagine because we're very high on this card. Imagine if Darren Till was on this card. That would just I don't know. It'd be almost too many storylines. So just hope. What's his injury? Did he say just another one of those knee things again?
I don't remember if he said or not.
He's kind of been saying it's almost just so much wear and tear on him. He's just saying like, man, everything just stuff keeps coming up because of how I guess how hard he pushed in training or the schedule he's kept.
He trains with Hamzat. Hamzat's a killer.
Yeah.
Said his body is brittle at this point, and that's not what you want to hear from someone.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he? Is he in his early 30s, late 20s?
Is he even?
I bet he's 30.
29. Like that's not what you
29,
want to hear
yeah,
from
so he's
someone
not
who's
even 30
29
yet.
years old, man.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, Darren Till, he's Darren Till, but it is kind of a bummer when he's not involved in this kind of in the fight weeks. I think we kind of miss it.
Yeah.
So I hope he gets back.
Yeah, and with respect to Chris Curtis, like the level of interest in Till versus Hermanson compared to the level of interest now in Curtis versus Hermanson is like just night and day. Like it's just completely different. Yeah.
Also, just in terms of the rhythm of the fight night.
Curtis.
Well, just in terms of the rhythm of the fight night too, like having a Till walk out right after Pimblett, right after McCann, like straight into Aspinall, like that would be a really nice momentum of English fervor.
Yeah, because it's not disrespectful to Curtis, because if Hermanson was the one who pulled out and Curtis stepped in, the fight would be equally as big. It's Darren Till is the show here, not Jack Hermanson or that fight even. It's just Darren Till. Yeah. Also,
honestly, a little surprised
Darren Till Chris Curtis would be a fun ass fight.
A little surprised they didn't make Paddy the co-main event after that happened, but
yeah,
pretty hard placement.
That's kind of why I want to bring up this comment. More about his pay, the Paddy Pimblett pay.
So this one's coming from Felix, who says Paddy versus Leavitt. There's no way this goes to the judges. Paddy will fight 10 out of 10 wild.
Oh no! I thought this was. I thought this.
Oh, you thought he was saying he was getting paid 10 and 10?
I misread.
No, he's on a new contract. No, he's on a new contract. He's on a much richer contract now.
He's making Barstool money. He's fine.
Once that story came out about the purse salaries and like how much he made for that fight, I think he was quick to renegotiate that.
Well, no matter what Paddy is making, he might be. I would almost kind of that Sean O'Malley in the sense that he might be one of the most underpaid, unranked fighters.
He's by far.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Like Paddy Pimblett should be
he is the
more
most underpaid fighter in the UFC probably.
There's no way he's getting paid like what he should be getting paid for this event. There's just no way. Because like I said, he's pretty much the number one name on this card. He's the draw. The rest of the card is fantastic, but he is like the headliner, right? We think he's the headliner anyway, and I think a lot of fans would agree. So, yeah, he's bringing on a lot of eyeballs and should get paid accordingly.
Yep.
This one's coming from our good friend Joseph Boza, who says, is this a case where the co-main event is bringing eyes? How much could the middleweight division be thrown into fun chaos if Chris Curtis beats number 8 Jack Hermanson? What do you fellas think? This doesn't feel to me. We hit it a little bit with the tilt stuff, but this doesn't feel like it's bringing eyes. But I would like the chaos of Chris Curtis all of a sudden being a main player at middleweight. That would be very fun.
I don't even think that's chaos. Though. Yeah.
Hermanson's Hermanson's just a dude who's never going to fight for a belt. So you're just moving that guy out of the top 10. I think that's just the natural progression, life cycle of a division.
I think Joseph means,
I guess,
dope to have a fun, I guess it's just another new challenger. I guess that's what Joseph means. But other than that, it's not really chaotic. Chris Curtis has been trending upward, just up. And this is the next step. So
yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
This one's coming from our buddy Scott McCrate, who says Mr. Finland early or Pierce if it goes past the first. This is a fight that's kind of going under the radar, guys. Makwan Amirkhani, Jonathan Pierce. How do you guys see it?
We talked about it yesterday at BTL. Mike correctly called this the low-key banger of the weekend because this fight is maybe it lasts longer than 5 minutes, but there are 5 minutes of fighting in this fight because it's a Makwan Amirkhani fight. That dude is going to come out throwing everything he possibly can, and he's either going to submit Pierce or he is going to gas himself into the ether, and then Pierce just going to tool him up for however long it takes him to get a finish. So this fight is going to be a really fun first round, and then probably if it gets out of that, it'll probably be pretty fun to just watch Pierce beat the hell out of Makwan Amirkhani however long that takes.
Yeah, I think Scott's assessment is correct, though. Yeah, it's definitely. I can't see Amirkhani winning a decision against JSP, Jonathan Pierce. Pierce is he's really tough for 15 minutes. So I'm not going to give my pick. I think I'm probably leaning a bit towards Pierce, but Makwan Amirkhani, his fight with Chris Grundy, had he just become a dad? I forgot. Are we dealing with like dad Makwan now or something like that? Does he have dad power?
I have no idea.
Is that not a thing? Sure I swear he's now Papa fueled. So we could have
tie that man down. You can't tie that man down.
Apparently you can. Apparently you can. This is a more mature, perhaps single-minded No longer on the prowl. Makwan Armor. I don't know. I don't know why we say these.
What
things.
is
Prowl.
going
I
on?
don't know.
I don't know what's
Right now.
happening.
But this could be. Listen, that win over Grundy I thought was really great, and who knows? Perhaps he's turned over a new leaf. So maybe we're wrong. Maybe Makwan can go a hard 15 minutes now. I don't know. Again, that's really has been
He
his
doesn't
Achilles
need
heel
to.
in the past.
I'm taking
might have
Makwan to
to.
win in the first.
Ooh, well, there you go. But
Mainly
either way,
because Joe Lozon's also a really fast starter, and he just obliterated Pierce in like 90 seconds. I think Makwan can just do the same thing, like the exact same thing Joe Lozon did. That's what I'm picking to happen.
There you go. Let me ask you, fellas, because I'm gonna go off the board for this next one. Because I've seen a bunch of people sort of talking about it and asking about it throughout the show. Alexander Gustafsson is on this card, and
I
no
know,
one
right?
has said a single word
Oh.
about Alexander Gustafsson all week.
That was my next question. I was bringing.
There we go.
Bring that up.
It used to be a big deal when we got an Alexander Gustafsson fight. Even once he started his losing streak, he was still someone that you knew he was going to be on that card. I feel like you asked 99% of MMA fans, they would have no idea he's on this card. It's actually his first fight since that Verdum thing at heavyweight like 2 years ago. Where are you guys at with Gustafsson? Like, is this story written and done? He's only 35? Like, is there a chance we could see some sort of Glover Teixeira type of thing from him, or is this just kind of, well, sorry, man, this is your legacy. You are who you are, and it's kind of over for you.
I don't know about that, but he's winning on Saturday.
Oh,
I'm willing to go there.
that.
He's winning on Saturday. Yeah, I just think he's a better fighter than Nikita Krylov. Nikita Krylov is so exciting. I mean, a guy that's, again, generally, except for that one time with Glover Teixeira, which I thought was like the most guaranteed finish ever, generally his fights either end in knockout or submitted, him getting knocked out or submitted, or him knocking out or submitting the other guy. He's versatile. He's exciting for sure. But I just have to look at how Gus's shortcomings. The heavyweight fight, the one heavyweight fight he took the last time we saw him, senseless. Never should have done it. Like the dumbest idea to fight a guy
he
like
did
Verdum.
not look good physically beforehand or in the cage.
Going into it, everyone was like, "Why is he doing this?" Going out of it, we were all like, "Why did that happen?" Horrible matchup. It was just a horrible move. And not necessarily that he shouldn't try heavyweight, but like that particular matchup at that stage in his career, we're like, "No, why? Don't do this."
Going against that was still Verdum. That was Verdum too.
Yes.
That's a really tough fight. Just
he's a pretty big heavyweight too. Like Verdum's a
Gus,
pretty big heavyweight.
Maybe Gustafsson at heavyweight versus Parker Porter.
Sure,
maybe that one a more proper match.
There's a bunch of heavyweight. No, sorry about the Parker Porter disrespect. There's a bunch of heavyweights. Alexander
catching strays.
There's a bunch of heavyweights that Gus could beat. Verdum at that stage of their careers was not one of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, two fights ago, John Jones. Okay, yeah, it was a bad performance, but I think John Jones, that was one of his best performances. Anthony Smith. You know, again, not the worst thing to lose to Anthony Smith. We know how good Anthony Smith is now. So I know it looks bad. You can look at his recent resume and some of the struggles he's had. But
his last win is Glover Teixeira. His last win is Glover Teixeira. That was 5 years ago. Alexander Gustafsson has not won in 5 years. But
I know
5 years ago he knocked out Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira is the champion, right? Or was the champion, right?
And I don't even think he needs to be that good to beat Krylov. Like I think he if we get like 80% of that, 75%. I think that's pretty good. So I think we'll see a kind of a renewed Gus. I think this is the right thing to do. I don't know if I don't know how much of a run he has left, but I think he'll at least get one more win. I think that's going to happen on Saturday.
Is there a chance if Gus loses, is this it? Do we never see him again?
Maybe.
I don't know. I thought it was already done, but then he keeps like half retiring and then coming back. And I don't know why. I don't know if he has. That's my concern here. Because, everything AK says is right. He's a better fighter on paper than Nikita Krylov. If he cares, if he wants to be a fighter, he hasn't won in 5 years. He hasn't fought in 2. Like, who the hell has any idea what Gus is coming into this with? If he is super motivated and focused, I would say he still has a chance to make a run at the belt. Mainly because he tuned up Glover Teixeira, who was 26 seconds or whatever the hell it was from retaining the light heavyweight title. And I don't think that fight would be substantively different tomorrow, assuming Gus is here to fight. So it's like, he could do it. Just does he want to? No clue. We're going to find out. But it's super weird that he's not the co-main. This is the dude who arguably claimed the closest of any human being alive to winning a UFC title without actually winning it twice. Two times he damn near won the belt. Like, the only other person I can think like that is Gray Maynard over and the Frankie Edgar fights. But he was that close. He was that close 2 times to winning the title and just came up short. And
against like
now
the
he's
two
not
greatest
even-
light heavyweights ever, by the
Yeah.
way, in their prime, like in their best moments of their career, more or less.
And now he is not even the co-main event to Jack friggin' Hermanson. Like, what are we doing? That is wild.
Not only is he not the co-main event, he's like an afterthought. Again, I don't think that most MMA fans know that Alexander Gustafsson's fighting for the first time in 2 years tomorrow.
It wasn't until his name started popping up on the comments that I was like, what? Then I was like, no, no. I was like, guys, we're talking about this card, not some. Oh wait, yeah, this card. I was like, all right.
It's weird, man. It's gonna be weird. I mean, he might go down as one of the most tragic sort of careers that we've seen in this era, if we're being real.
Or maybe he's just Buffalo Bills of the lightweight division. Just almost.
Man, MMA narratives are so funny because I agree that could be a tragic career, but also like nobody thought he was going to have the career he's had at the start. Like we all laughed at him being a title challenger. It was a big joke because Phil Davis rolled him up.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, he's tall. Oh, tall is going to be the problem for John Jones. And then he almost did the damn thing in a Hall of Fame fight or whatever, and that changed his entire career. MMA narratives are a strange thing.
But
go for it, Casey.
But does this really come down to just motivation from Gustafsson, or is there just a weird timeline where just maybe Gustafsson is just he just got lucky? I guess I don't know. I don't. Or is it just not lucky? Just showed up on like DC.
I
John
think
Jones' worst night.
I think prime Gustafsson was an exceptional fighter. I just feel like we are so far removed from prime Gustafsson, whether it was motivation or damage or a buildup of both. I think you get to both of those title fights and get that damn close where you're like milliseconds away from actually doing something, and then it gets taken away from you. Like that's gotta affect your spirit and your motivation and your drive to such a profound level, especially then because like he's had really tough losses in Sweden. Every time they book him in Sweden, he gets knocked out like brutally. And it's just like ever since he had those title losses, he is just nothing's really gone right for him. And I think at a certain point, you're only human, right? Like you can only just keep doing this so long before you're just like, man, it's not happening. So I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It's a very tough situation. And I think there's a good chance we may never see him fight again if he loses.
I think he might be a bit of an overachiever where when he is not the focus, because the Sweden stuff, like he's the guy that it's built around. When he has the spotlight on him, when the expectations are with him, he has largely not shown up. Whereas when he's not, this is Daniel Cormier is going to run through Gustafsson because they're just going to get back to the Jones fight. He showed the up when it's John Jones showed up. Like I think that maybe that's just it. And so maybe this is good for him because there aren't a lot of expectations for him against Krylov this weekend because no one has any idea what they could even expect from him at this point.
And remember when he fought DC, it was coming off the humiliating loss to Anthony Johnson.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like it was the weirdest fight to even be booked, and a UFC just got extremely lucky again with having an amazing fight. But that fight should have never been made.
The knee that he hit DC with would knock out 99 out of 100 light heavyweights. Like DC just has a legendary chin.
I would have knocked out DC on most nights too. Like that thing was as clean as you're ever going to hit someone.
Almost did too.
God and hope kept DC conscious right there. Like I don't even know how he was honestly. So,
all right, we are running long, so let's do one more and then we'll get out of here.
We haven't talked about Molly McCann at all, which is wild to me.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
I am. Pick me, Michael.
This question's coming from Michael, who says, anyone betting against Meatball? Jed, do you know how big of a favorite she is right now?
Oh, I sure do. Do you know, or do you want me to tell you the answer?
I don't know, so I would love to hear it. I know she's a huge favorite right now.
Minus 435 on DraftKings at the moment.
That is wild.
Wow. Everything we said about Paddy Pimblett, like double for Molly. And Molly's probably a better fighter than Paddy Pimblett, but there is not a soul alive that she should be a minus 400 favorite over her inside the UFC cage.
Hold on. You also have to factor in Jordan Leavitt is a much better fighter than Hannah Goldie is.
Sure, but minus 400.
I'm just saying that's what's different about the situations, though, is like I know we're saying like skill wise, whatever, Molly, and if you want to compare them, but if you compare their opponents and Hannah Goldie, I know I think I don't know if it was on Between the Links or another show you were talking about this, Jed. Like and we talk about this all the time. We love athleticism. It doesn't get much more fit and athletic than Hannah Goldie. I mean, she's probably, I'm talking about men or women, one of the 10 most fit fighters in the UFC. It's insane. And that's great. And that can take you a long way. But I really think like the skill deficit here is actually pretty big. I think Molly is going to win a really convincing. I don't think she gets the highlight reel KO, but if anything, I think she's going to kind of style on Goldie for like 3 rounds. But I get it. Of course, there's value in bidding on Goldie when you have odds like that. But I think the odds
she
make
is a
sense.
better fighter. I think absolutely Molly McCann is a better fighter and will probably win. But I threw a shot on Hannah Goldie because she's plus 370 or whatever number it is. It's something,
and that makes sense.
Molly McCann just shouldn't be this big a favorite. And check out my gambling column, which should come out, I think, either in like 15 minutes or pretty soon. If you're really feeling frisky and just being the worst possible fan, I took what I'm calling the hometown fade parlay this week. So I never parlay underdogs, bad choice, but I parlayed Curtis Blaydes, Jordan Leavitt, and Hannah Goldie just for the maximum lulls, and it pays to like plus 3,000 or something dumb like that. So if you guys really want to fade all the Brits, go for it.
That was
don't fade Mason,
Blaydes, Hannah, and Leavitt.
Yeah, don't fade Mason Jones or Wood. Both of them are going to win. But that's like the other ones have.
Are you being real with
lose.
plus 3,000? Is that how high that gets to?
I can look it up.
Because all 3 of those could very conceivably happen.
Leavitt, Goldie, and who else?
I'll figure it out. Leavitt, Goldie, and Blaydes. Let me figure it out while you guys talk about this fight as you want, and I'll get you your exact number.
Well, I think we're good.
McCann is one of my locks, though, I will say. Is definitely one of my locks to win on Saturday.
Plus 3068, Sean. 3,068 if you parlay those 3 together.
Wow.
That's
all right.
Bad.
I don't think it's going to cash, but I took a shot on it.
I think McCann's a
why
lock.
not? It's funny.
There's no such thing as a lock in MMA. I get it, but I think McCann's a lock. I'm just trying to think of all the fighters whom I'm. Mokaev, I would be really confident about. Obviously, McCann. That's about it.
McCann's your lock of the night, though.
McCann is
McCann. I mean, Mokaev probably.
Night.
Though I do think Charles Johnson is. Mike Heck has been pumping Charles Johnson's tires for a while, so he's just saying like that's going to be a good scrap. He has picked Mokaev, but he has said that like Charles Johnson's, it's going to be a much more competitive scrap than I think people think. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I don't know enough about Charles Johnson to be honest. Mm-hmm. And so I'd have Mokaev, McCann, and frankly, actually Chris Curtis. That'd be like my 3 most.
See, Chris Curtis is probably the one outside of Mokaev, but McCann is the second biggest favorite on the card, not behind Mokaev. Would you care to guess who's a bigger favorite? AK.
I'm looking right now. I'm not looking at the odds. I'm looking at the names. So you said Mokaev is only this.
Is it Nathaniel Wood?
Sean has nailed it. Wood is the biggest favorite on the card, minus 600. McCann,
that's right. That feels right.
Is number 3 behind Mokaev, who is minus 520, and then it is McCann at minus 435.
Wood is the biggest favorite of everyone.
Ooh, yes. Wood is minus 600.
Wow. Okay.
Then Mokaev. Right. Then McCann. Then you've got Diakese and Mason Jones are both pretty close to minus 400.
So on the Tapology, just straight pick'ems, Hannah Goldie is only 8% of people are picking Hannah Goldie, and
that means there's value on McCann then.
Yeah. And Charles Rosa is only 7%. Actually, Charles Rosa, Johnson, and Nelson are all only at 7%. People are picking them. So
Nelson's at 7%
over Jai Herbert. Yeah.
Just people know about Jai Herbert. What do people know about Jai Herbert that I don't know?
He almost killed Ilia Topuria, who's like really damn good, and I think that's
almost.
And he's English. Yeah, and then he got deaded. So, but they're forgetting that part.
Interesting.
Andy's English, so you know.
All right. And last thing, real quick. Look at that.
It's coming from EDMSK. AK sing the Tommy Aspinall song.
How does it go again?
It's on the team.
Jed, lead it. Tommy Aspinall.
Tommy Aspinall.
Go.
I mean, we could just pull up the audio.
All right. This is stalling out. I'm calling an end to this.
Nope.
I
We're not
accept
gonna
it.
we're not gonna hear it on Saturday after the main event anyway. So
Ooh,
No, you'll hear it
look at that.
before. You hear it before the event.
I'm just kidding. I love English people.
You'll hear it during the co-main event. You'll hear it during the co-main event. They'll be just bring out.
Second poll: how does Paddy Pimblett versus Jordan Leavitt end? 46% Pimblett finish. 46% Pimblett finish. 32% Leavitt finish. So huge chunk thinks that this is not going to a decision. And then 9% Pimblett by decision, 13% Leavitt by decision. So.
Love it. Fight will be fun.
It will be fun.
There's the music. It's been fun, gentlemen. This is a spectacular looking card that we have for a fight night. I can't wait for more morning fights, and I can't wait to see.
Fight day.
Yes, it's a little breakfast, little tea.
Little English
eggs.
breakfast? You gonna do
Little
the full
English. I'm
full
not gonna go
English?
full English, but I'll go little tea, little eggs, some morning fights, some bloodshed. It'll be great times. I can't wait for it. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. That man is Jed Meshew. You got AK Lee over there, the best producer in the business, the undefeated EKC London. We'll be back tomorrow. We got AK hosting the pregame, and then I'll be hosting the postgame, and it'll be fun. I hope you guys tune in. In the meantime, enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Love you guys.